Okay, I think we are ready to start. Welcome to the session on advancing earning opportunities through social safety nets. I am Ugo Gentilini. I'm Global Lead for Social Assistance at the World Bank, and I will be moderating a true stellar panel of speakers today. Before introducing them and getting into the content of the session, let me just convey a few logistical reminders. As you know, interpretation is available into English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. Click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select one of those languages. We'll be using Menti.com, an audience interaction tool. So either on your phone, tablet, or new browser window, log into Menti.com and type the code for the session, which is 39715093. If you're having connection issues or trouble selecting your relevant language, please let us know through the chat box, and we'll be very happy to assist you. And please do use the same chat box to participate in this, I'm sure, exciting and lively conversation, and share your question with and feedback and thoughts, and I will be relaying them to the speakers at the Q&A session. So as anticipated, we have three great speakers today. We're gonna start with Ladislaus Joseph Mwamanga, who is Executive Director of the Tanzania Social Action Fund, or TASAF. We're gonna then move to Latin America and hear from Diego Alonso Aldás, who's the Deputy Minister for Economic Inclusion in the Ministry of Social and Economic Inclusion of Ecuador. And then we're going to hear from Jenny Swatton, who's a social protection and economic inclusion advisor at Concern Worldwide. So warm welcome to Ladislaus, Diego, and Jenny. I also have a slide to frame the issues, but before showing that, let me turn to Laura and our team for posing a question via the Menti poll. So you should see a slide coming up posing that question shortly. There you go. So this is a very, very important question. In your view, what are the most important design priorities for governments when developing a nascent economic inclusion program? So we have various options from low to high. What is most important in your view? The target group, the program components, the budgeting, the integration of digital tools. But I suspect that wasn't exactly the right question. So these things happen. It's all right. We'll give it a second try. It's a little early in DC morning, so we try to give it a second try. This is the right question. So definitely more salient for our panel. To what extent safety nets and livelihood interventions work effectively to increase revenues for the poor? So how do you think safety nets and livelihood interventions are working at the moment? Are they very effective? Are they somewhat effective? Maybe not effective. I'm actually not sure. So very effective is leading, somewhat effective is leading now. We're gonna have about a minute. We're gonna see how the poll goes, just to get the pulse of participants' view on this important question. So about 20 of you voted. Feel free to cast your ballot. We're gonna have another 30 seconds. At the moment, you think that they are mostly somewhat effective. It's a very opinionated group. Nobody doesn't know or is not sure. Okay, I think this is quite clear. So there is a general positive view, mostly somewhat effective, but also very effective. Lotta, I think we give it 5 seconds, and then maybe we can close the poll. The trend and the answers are very clear. Thank you so much. So there is an overwhelming positive view on this important issue, which is great to hear. I will now share a slide from my end, and just to give a little bit of framing to what we're going to discuss with our speakers. So here you go. And how many times did you hear the question of, oh, where are safety nets or handouts? Why should I do safety nets? And I think that part of the message that you've been hearing so far from the event is that actually whether safety nets or safety nets basically is a false dichotomy to think of whether safety nets is spur or don't spur economic growth. There are at least 7 ways that have been clearly documented in the literature through which safety nets actually can generate income and economic growth at local and national level. I'm laying them out here. I won't go in detail, but just to let you know that there is solid evidence that shows the importance of safety nets in building human capital, both in terms of saving lives, but also building the various dimensions of human development. There is clear evidence on building physical capital, especially through schemes like public works. There are economic multipliers. Cash that goes to people is cash that goes into the economy. Every dollar injected as a cash transfers can generate between $0.3 and $2.6 in local economies. Oftentimes, these schemes pay for themselves through those multipliers. They can improve the well-being, self-confidence of beneficiaries, and we know that that's key for entrepreneurship. There are clear effects on entrepreneurship on productivity, savings, and investments from packages of measures that include safety nets and other interventions. They do enhance the resilience to shocks. We have seen that over the past year, for example, over and over, on how countries would have been way worse off without safety nets in place. Also, as countries think of broad reforms for enhancing growth, that can come at a cost for some. So having safety nets ensures also that transitions are run smoothly. So there are many channels through which safety nets generate income. You will see that what we're going to hear today from Tanzania and from Ecuador potentially convey a little bit of all of this, but they're going to clearly illustrate, in the case of Tanzania, the links to human capital and physical capital, as well as the package of interventions. You'll see the arrows. And Ecuador has a very intriguing way of thinking through the package of interventions and the complementarities and how all those measures fit together and enhance the growth. We're going to hear from Jenny, however, perhaps a sobering reminder of some of the challenges. I'm not mentioning them here, but Jenny is going to walk us through some of the barriers or some of the issues that we encounter as those channels are established. So I will stop sharing here my slide, and I would like to turn it over at this point to Mr. Mwamanga, to tell us about the Tanzania experience. Mr. Mwamanga, over to you.
Thank you. Let me share my screen here. Yeah, good morning for those who are in Washington, and maybe good afternoon to other places. I'm here to present on Tanzania case for the productive social safety net. My name is Ladislaus Mwamanga, the Executive Director for Tanzania Social Action Fund. Start with the country and the sector context. The country is witness a decade of a strong economic growth from 6 to 7%. It has low inflation, stable microeconomic environment. Tanzania became a low middle income country in 2020. Poverty has been declining. That is basic needs poverty down from 28% in 2012 to 8% in 2018. And inequality has been increasing, but still quite low. In coefficients is about 38% in 2018. However, absolute number of poor people has increased due to rapid population growth, and the Human Development Index at 0.52 remains above the average for the region. In order to respond to these challenges, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania has started a program on SoftNet in 2012 and started a significant scaling it up in 2015. Now, coming to the objective of the productive social safety net is to improve access to income earnings opportunities and socio-economic services for targeted poor households while enhancing and protecting the human capital of their children. And the target group is about 1.4 million households, poor households who are vulnerable all over the country. This program is a national program, all the local government authority, all the districts in the country. Now, looking on the main components of the productive social safety net, we have a productive household support, which is integrated package of benefit and services. We have the cash transfers, we have the public works, and livelihood support with the productive inclusion. So all the three interventions in the same household who are targeted and enrolled happens in a sequential manner. Then we have the institutional capacity and integrated delivery system to strengthen delivery system and program implementation capacity at community level, local government authorities, regional and national level, because the program is organized from the national level up to the community level where the beneficiaries are. Now, looking on the productive coverage, the productive system coverage, basically it aims to increase income and the consumption of extreme poor households and households at risk of poverty, improve their ability to cope with these shocks, and enhance and protect human capital of children. Coverage, the productive system is covered in the phases, and currently it covers about 70% of the villages, but countrywide. We have gone to all the local government authorities, all the districts, but covered 70% of the villages. But it is expected to cover the whole country by 2023. The conditional cash transfer currently covers 900,000 households, which is about 10% of the population in the country. And it's all received some productive inclusion measure. There is a savings promotion to all the households enrolled in the program. That's the 900,000. Then we have about 72,000 receive basic skills in training, and 50,000 received the productive grant. Now, looking on the targeting mechanism, it purely relies on the high-performing three-stage targeting system to identify the poorest. With a geographical, we did the assessment to arrange all the country region-wise where the poverty is more announced. Then we come to the community level where the people, they have given sound to set up the poverty criteria and the scientific method proxy means testing to verify the selected indicators. And the rollout plan was done in waves, about 3 stages of the waves. Now looking on the system to support the poor and vulnerable, basically it's one major system. We have a common targeting system. We have a unified register of beneficiary where we keep the information for all the beneficiary. And this system is decentralized in each local government authority or districts. They keep and update the information. Where we have, once the targeting enrollment is done with the enrollment in the conditional cash transfer, where we look at the household with the children and the pregnant women, inclusive the monthly community session, so that we can give different messages when they come to collect the cash. But again, household with the adults who are able to work with labor force, they do enroll in public works, plus also the livelihood activities, the savings promotion. And together, all these 2 components, they assist in smoothen their consumption and of course, accumulation of assets. And finally, they generate income and acquire savings and all this. But when you look on the conditional cash transfer with the condition of education and health, those are the conditionality for the children less than 5 years. They need to attend to health clinics, and also for those in 6 to 18 years to go to be enrolled in the schools. And that's the conditionality, basically with the aim of human capital accumulation and sustainable reduction of poverty. And the livelihood enhancement framework, basically, we look for the extreme poverty people. We start the conditional cash transfers to raise their consumption, and finally, intergenerational poverty reduction. And then we have the public works for consumption support, and that public works, it goes for a number of years. It's a continuation up to 3 years. Then we also start the livelihood enhancement, the same household on the savings component, where they tout about the savings, and each individual also to use even the technology so that they can receive the cash through the electronic payment. But the basic skills and the awareness training is done in all the livelihood to all the household who are enrolled in the program. And this is gone with together with the light coaching, which is provided throughout continuous to the household for those who are receiving the conditional cash transfer. But also for the groups which have done well, we also give the productive grant, which I've mentioned earlier. We have about 50,000 households who have already received that productive grant. Basically, the livelihood enhancement package, we provide basic skill and awareness training on economic activities. This training beneficial on the livelihood opportunities, transformation. We do the marketing, entrepreneurship skills, business plans, preparation, records of keeping, and the eligibility here is all the households. But now on the saving promotion, we have just increased the ability for beneficiary to save for the future needs and investment. And basically the content is on the livelihood enhancement opportunities, on savings groups, constitutional preparation, saving mobilization, loan and conflict management, record keeping, etc. And the eligibility here is all household with the labor capacity. Now, going for productive grant for enhanced livelihood, we do training on small grants to promote self-employment and micro business creation. And the eligibility here is for all households who have participated in livelihood enhancement orientation sessions, participated also in basic skills and savings training, participated in business preparation training, and prepared their own size of their business plan on the business which they can manage. And the modality here is one-time grant for workable beneficiary. And the beneficiary agreed to do the following: to have to participate in orientation session and the use of the grant, including being linked to training on the chosen livelihood enhancement option and the livelihood opportunities. And definitely we continue to coach and mentoring them. This provision of regular hands-on support to beneficiary during the implementation. Now, in productive safety net, we had 2 parts. We have the first part, which is productive safety net 1, which ended in 2019. It started in 2012 to 2019, and we did the impact evaluation results. The results showed that the production of self-net household has reduced the poverty by 10% for basic needs poverty and 12% for food poverty in relation relative to non-productive social self-net households. And this is evidenced on a productive impact on increased savings and asset accumulation, which can increase household potential to derive income and resilience to future shocks. It has intensified farming activities and utilization of agricultural inputs that are linked to improved agricultural productivity. It has also increased self-employment through the public works, even a derived engagement linked to higher income levels and higher productivity. Evidence of human capital of children and the entire household. It has increased the food consumption and the dietary diversity, which can help children to learn more in school and others to be more productive at work. It has also encouraged the household. It has also, it has also encouraged the household to enroll children in schools, which can contribute in the long term to a more productive workforce and break the poverty cycle. It has also increased health visits and health insurance registration triples. All the household, they register themselves for the health insurance at community. We call it a community health fund. This is a group of livelihood group in one of the districts. When they meet and discuss with their boxes where they put the document and some savings there. We also have one of the beneficiaries here who has got some goats as the livelihood engagement in one of the districts. And these are several examples across the country. Now coming to challenges and lesson learned. We have one big challenge in adequate supervision of savings groups at district level due to few extension workers. Within the districts, to the wards level up to the community with extension workers are not enough to support the communities in the engagement of the livelihood activities. We've also unreliable weather affecting on-farm activities, unreliable markets and prices for perishables, high interest rates and lack of collaterals for beneficiaries. You know, these are poor people. To have appropriate collateral requirement by financial institutions is a bit a challenge. And that's why now the scale up of the livelihood enhancement was slower than anticipated due to resource constraints, financial, administrative, and personnel. In productive social safety net 1, we have been able to go to about 51 local government authorities, while we have about 186 local government authorities. Again, we narrowed down on target groups for productive inclusion, especially enhanced packages, given the number of conditional cash transfer beneficiaries and the cost of the livelihood enhancement package is a big challenge. And as I mentioned earlier, with about 50,000 households who built the livelihood grant. Now on the lesson learned, savings groups members developed a culture of savings and investment. Most of extreme poor were able to qualify for credit. This was a critical aspect for the formation of savings groups. Enhanced solidarity among group members, including women economic empowerment and the livelihood enhancement interventions as an opportunity to become more economically empowered and self-reliant. Now, looking on the next step, basically now we are talking the productive social safety net, the second part, which has just started from last year. And here the main aspect is to do the scaling up of the program to reach all the remaining 6,000 villages not covered. You know, we had about 10,000 villages in the first part, but now we need to cover, the government said we need to cover all. And this exercise is ongoing now. We have started to roll out to all, to target and enroll all the beneficiary households who are poor, extreme poor, to the villages where we have not reached, which is about 60,000. This is an activity going, and we expect by end of June to July will be done for the whole country. Again, we need to roll out the public works program, which is already done in about 51 local government authorities. We want to go to all 186 project area authorities. Again, we need to continue massive scale up of productive inclusion to all districts in phased approach. Again, the livelihood component we have not done to all the local government authorities and all villages, and now we need to scale up in a phased approach so that we cover all the people who are enrolled in the program. Roll out the digital payment. We've started by pilot to do the digital payment, electronic payment system. We started the pilot in 19 local government authorities, and now we are in 39, and we expect to expand in this financial year to go up to 99, and finally reach all with the electronic payment system to all of the 160 local government authorities. We need also to improve the operational and management systems. As the management is massive, the whole country is spread all over, we've been able to put the operational system in each local government authority, centrally controlled at headquarters, but now we need to improve more on the system to accommodate even the new designs in this productive social net phase 2. And definitely we need to undertake the impact evaluation study for productive social safety net. As we've heard, we had already the impact evaluation, the baseline and the midline for the productive social safety net part 1, and the result we've seen. Definitely now we need to do also for the productive social safety net part 2, which the preparation are already by July this year, we start to do the initial work. Thank you for listening. I hope I managed the time.
You managed perfectly, Mr. Mwamanga. This was incredibly insightful. Thank you so much for walking us through the results, the components of a very comprehensive scheme. I think you have at least six components that have all been scaled up massively, but the scale up is yet not complete, and you're trying to reach 6,000 additional villages in the coming future. So thank you so much for sharing all that wealth of experience. Let us now go to Ecuador and hear from Diego Aldás about another fascinating example of combining interventions for livelihoods promotion. So Mr. Aldás, over to you.
Buenos días con todos. Me permiten un minutito hasta poner la presentación. ¿Me confirman que me escuchan, por favor?
Perfectly well. You are welcome to start.
Perfecto. Bueno, buenos días con todos. Mi nombre es Diego Aldás del Ministerio de Inclusión Económica y Social, y para nosotros es un placer poder compartir la experiencia de Ecuador respecto a lo que es esta estrategia de inclusión económica y de movilidad social con los efectos del COVID. Un poco para poner en contexto lo que es el Ecuador. El Ecuador es parte de Latinoamérica. Tenemos 17.5 millones de personas. De acuerdo a los últimos datos del Instituto Ecuatoriano de Estadísticas y Censos para abril del 2021, mantiene el 33% se encuentra en empleo adecuado y el 5.7% de personas se encuentra en desempleo, ¿no? Datos de la pobreza del Ecuador, la pobreza multidimensional, identifica múltiples carencias a nivel de los hogares y las personas en los ámbitos de la salud, la educación y el nivel de vida, y está alrededor del 40%, ¿no? La pobreza por ingreso está alrededor del 32.4% y la pobreza por consumo en alrededor del 29.7%. De los efectos de la crisis sanitaria y sus impactos, establece que se ha reducido los ingresos de las personas en un 4.5% y se ha incrementado la pobreza en un 7%. Estos son el contexto actual de Ecuador, ¿no? Para esto, el Ministerio de Inclusión Económica y Social tiene una estrategia de inclusión económica y para los programas sociales, aquí existe una unidad del registro social. ¿En qué consiste esta unidad? Que se encarga de realizar un levantamiento de un catastro en el que consta la información social, económica y demográfica individualizada a nivel de familias, ¿no? O sea, esta unidad realiza trabajo en campo, les visitan en cada uno de los hogares de las familias para determinar el nivel socioeconómico de cada una de ellas y establecer un nivel o una calificación de pobreza o de extrema pobreza de las personas que accederían a los programas sociales. Por parte del Ministerio de Inclusión Económica y Social, administra el programa de transferencias monetarias. La principal fuente de información es el registro social. Adicionalmente a esto se realizan algunos procesos para poder seleccionar a las personas, especialmente las que están ya en pobreza y extrema pobreza. Se tienen unos requisitos adicionales, por ejemplo, que no se encuentren trabajando, que hayan perdido su empleo. Y se realizan las transferencias monetarias. Aquí, por ejemplo, tenemos de bonos y pensiones. Bonos, por ejemplo, tenemos el bono de desarrollo humano dirigido para personas que están entre 18 y 65 años. El bono de desarrollo humano con componente variable, que es para personas que tienen niños, hijos en edad escolar, y se les da un valor adicional por cada hijo que está en condiciones de escolaridad, para promover que asistan a la escuela. Hay otros bonos que son dirigidos a personas con discapacidad. ¿Diego? Y bonos dirigidos a personas adultas mayores de 65 años.
Perdón, Diego, no sé si me escuchas, soy Hugo.
No. ¿Cuáles son las condiciones de Ecuador?
Diego, quería pedirte un favor. Creo que viene de tu presentación una ventana en negro en tus slides, en tus diapositivas. No sé si de repente puedes hacer algo para tratar de quitarla. O de repente si lo sacas y lo vuelves a compartir, quizás se vea mejor. Creo que ahí la perdimos, sí.
Creo que mejor, sí.
Perfecto. Thank you. Gracias. Disculpa la interrupción.
Diego, you're welcome to start whenever you want.
Creo que ahí se desapareció la pantalla.
Ahora sí podemos ver tu presentación. Puedes continuar
los efectos
donde estabas. Disculpa.
Establece que en su momento, en la falta de equidad, el 38% de la población tenía una cobertura a través de transferencias monetarias, ¿no? Un efecto post-COVID establece que el 68% de la población pobre tiene una cobertura a través de transferencias monetarias regulares. Y se estima llegar a finales de año a un 80% de las personas en pobreza con cobertura de transferencias monetarias. También un 33% de la población ha recibido una transferencia emergente que se creó precisamente en el inicio de la pandemia y se hizo transferencias monetarias para personas que estaban en condiciones de vulnerabilidad y que por efectos de la pandemia principalmente perdieron su trabajo. Dentro de la integración, el 21% de la población beneficiaria de transferencias recibía servicios de cuidado. Es decir, tenía acceso a otros servicios del ministerio con respecto a cuidado de niños y de adultos mayores. Después del COVID, esta cobertura pasó del 21 al 30% y recibe ya un servicio también adicional del ministerio. Un efecto pre-COVID también era la falta de mecanismos de sostenibilidad. La estrategia de graduación ordenada de transferencias monetarias, es decir, que las personas que recibían transferencias monetarias podían tener acceso a una estrategia de inclusión económica. Actualmente, una estrategia post-COVID se ha realizado una inclusión económica dirigida a jóvenes que pertenecen a núcleos que han superado la pobreza. El objetivo para los grupos destinatarios es expandir el red de protección social como respuesta a los efectos adversos ocasionados por la pandemia. ¿Qué tenemos como estrategias? Las estrategias tenemos las transferencias monetarias regulares, son las transferencias que se están entregando permanentemente a los grupos de madres con niños menores de edad, personas adultas mayores y personas con discapacidad. Esta está dirigida actualmente a familias y personas en situación de pobreza según el registro social, y actualmente se llega a 1.435.000 familias, ¿no? Otra estrategia es las transferencias emergentes, que aquí, por ejemplo, se emitió el bono de protección familiar, el bono de apoyo nutricional y un bono que era para la provincia de Galápagos, que es una condición especial. Esto también atendido a 1.437.338 familias, ¿no? Y dentro de la estrategia de inclusión económica tenemos destinatarios de las personas que reciben transferencias monetarias, y a la fecha, durante los 4 años de este último gobierno, se han entregado 228.384 bonos, créditos de desarrollo humano, perdón, ¿no? Ya bueno, ya entrando en materia, lo que es el crédito de desarrollo humano, esta es una estrategia de inclusión económica y esto es dirigido a los usuarios de bonos y pensiones, y tienen la oportunidad de recibir transferencias anticipadas de los bonos, con carácter como una especie de crédito en condiciones preferenciables. En este caso posee 2 modalidades correspondientes al anticipo de 12 o 24 meses. Esto más o menos se establece entre $600 o $1,200 respectivamente. ¿Qué es lo que sucede? Que los beneficiarios de bonos y pensiones solicitan el anticipo de su bono por $600 o $1,200 al MIES. El MIES, ¿qué es lo que realiza aquí? Verifica que no sea deudor del Estado, que esté habilitado en bonos o pensiones y haber recibido una capacitación. ¿Cuál es el objetivo de la capacitación? Es que a través de 40 escuelas de inclusión económica reciben educación financiera, emprendimiento, o sea, aquí aprenden a elaborar, y de hecho elaboran un documento que es el plan de negocios, ¿no? Y también reciben capacitación de organización del hogar, una capacitación de emprendimiento con enfoque asociativo y el proceso de fortalecimiento de capacidades. Esto puede ser presencial y en virtud del COVID se ha hecho ya capacitaciones virtuales para poder llegar a la mayor cantidad de personas, ¿no? En este caso aquí el MIES suspende la transferencia monetaria a los beneficiarios que han accedido al crédito de desarrollo humano, y a través de la banca pública, en este caso aquí es Ban Ecuador, el Banco del Pueblo, le realiza el crédito, le otorga el crédito al beneficiario. Le hace un solo pago, la tasa del crédito es del 5%, y el MIES se encarga de ir pagando mensualmente las cuotas a Ban Ecuador. Ese es el mecanismo del crédito productivo, del crédito de desarrollo humano, perdón, bajo esta modalidad. ¿Cuáles son los servicios dentro de lo que es inclusión económica? Aquí los usuarios de bonos y pensiones acceden a este bono, a este anticipo del crédito de 12 o 24 meses de transferencias monetarias para financiar iniciativas productivas, ¿no? Y dentro del eje de sostenibilidad se implementa una estrategia de movilidad social de los beneficiarios de programas dentro de la red de protección social. Y aquí sucede algo interesante porque esta población es la que históricamente ellos no han podido ingresar, no han podido ser incluidos al sistema financiero formal. Y a través del MIES se brinda un acceso a la inclusión financiera y acceso a servicios de fortalecimiento y acompañamiento para que puedan implementar una iniciativa productiva o para emplearse. De tal forma que dentro de la inclusión pueden brindar acceso a programas de paquetes de servicios integrados para la vinculación productiva o laboral. En este caso, la inclusión productiva o la inclusión laboral más la inclusión financiera nos da una inclusión económica, ¿no? La movilidad social tiene como objetivo disminuir la dependencia de las transferencias y consecuentemente a través del crédito de desarrollo humano poder mejorar las condiciones de vida de los beneficiarios que acceden a esta estrategia, ¿no? ¿Cómo funciona el bono? ¿No? Habíamos comentado que el bono está dirigido para promover líneas de financiamiento para establecer mecanismos de apoyo a programas de carácter productivo, ¿no? Está orientado a contribuir la estrategia de superación de pobreza de personas y hogares destinados al bono de desarrollo humano y pensiones y permite una inclusión financiera de los usuarios de las transferencias que se hallen en situación de pobreza, fomentando el desarrollo social, humano y productivo de las personas y sus familias. En este caso, el registro social levanta la información de las personas que se encuentran en condición de pobreza, extrema pobreza o vulnerabilidad y acceden a las transferencias monetarias, ¿no? Las personas y los beneficiarios que están en transferencias monetarias tienen la posibilidad de acceder al crédito de desarrollo humano, ¿no? Para que puedan presentar su iniciativa productiva, ¿no? La idea es que esta iniciativa productiva mejore sus ingresos, de tal forma que cuando la próxima ocasión que el registro social haga un levantamiento, las personas que accedieron al crédito de desarrollo humano hayan mejorado sus condiciones y hayan salido de la pobreza. Entonces, el modelo de gestión implementado para la movilidad social ascendente inicia con la identificación de su condición económica y termina una vez que ha concluido el proceso productivo y se puede establecer si es que estas personas han salido de su condición de pobreza, ¿no? Al momento, a la fecha, se han entregado 228,384 créditos productivos durante este gobierno. Eso ha implicado una inversión de 178 millones de dólares, ¿no? Principalmente se ha dado los créditos a mujeres, jefas de hogar, eso representa un 91%. El destino del crédito ha sido el 75% para actividades agropecuarias, ¿no? El 43% se ha realizado a través de modo asociativo, ¿no? Y el 18% está destinado a personas jóvenes de entre 18 y 29 años de edad. Hay un dato que es súper importante para nosotros, que el 41% de los beneficiarios que se han identificado como afroecuatorianos, indígenas y montubios han accedido al crédito de desarrollo humano, ¿no? La evaluación para nosotros es importante, la evaluación de lo que significaría el efecto de un bono y un efecto de un crédito, ¿no? El efecto de un bono, de la probabilidad de desempleo es prácticamente negativo. O sea, una persona que recibe el bono no se mantiene constante y no hay probabilidad de que ellos caigan en un desempleo porque probablemente no lo tienen, ¿no? Y el efecto de que una persona que emprendió, realizó actividades productivas, es mínimo, pero puede caer en una pequeña proporción en desempleo. De alguna forma, los resultados relacionados al bienestar son mucho mejores, de tal forma que el índice de bienestar en una persona que recibe el bono es pequeña, es negativa, pero muy pequeña. Y el índice de bienestar de una persona que recibe un crédito de desarrollo humano es totalmente positiva. Vemos un indicador de 1.2% como un índice que es totalmente positivo. Y también el nivel educativo en promedio del hogar. Una persona que recibe el bono es negativo, prácticamente se tiene una actividad estática, pero una persona que tiene el crédito de desarrollo humano tiene un índice positivo en el nivel de promedio educativo de su hogar, ¿no? Como los siguientes pasos, una estrategia que se ha considerado importante aquí en el ministerio, se desarrolla un proyecto que se llama Impulso Joven, un programa de Impulso Joven, que esto está destinado a personas que están en edad entre 18 y 29 años. Aquí prácticamente se identifica, el MIES identifica hogares que por la aplicación del registro social o la actualización de sus características socioeconómicas hayan superado su condición de pobreza y tenga entre sus miembros personas de 18 y 29 años. Entonces, muy importante porque se busca personas que están tratando de salir de la pobreza, ¿no? Y obviamente que haya un joven dentro del hogar que permite que haya mayores posibilidades de superación en estas condiciones, ¿no? Aquí se realiza una notificación al hogar de este programa y se le indica sus beneficios, sus condiciones y los requisitos, ¿no? Y se le invita a que venga a participar dentro del programa, ¿no? El hogar firma el compromiso de aceptación y escoge una alternativa, si es que es una inclusión productiva, una iniciativa productiva o una iniciativa laboral, ¿no? Aquí se realiza un proceso de inscripción a través de las operadoras que pueden identificar para capacitación y acompañamiento, ¿no? Y también por el mismo lado, las personas que se enfocan a la inclusión laboral también se inscriben para realizar capacitaciones de habilidades blandas, mejoramiento técnico y certificación de competencias, ¿no? Aquí ya se realiza un primer desembolso del 50% del bono y en las dos modalidades. Y posteriormente, una vez concluido el proceso de capacitación, se desembolsa el 50% restante para establecer ahí ya los resultados positivos. Y finalmente, el MIES pague a los operadores que han elegido los beneficiarios. Bueno, las principales conclusiones para nosotros y los próximos pasos es la red de protección social ha experimentado una expansión de 3 veces de antes de la pandemia. O sea, se ha incrementado la cobertura del bono de desarrollo humano. Esto es muy importante porque durante todo el proceso de la pandemia no se dejó de pagar un solo bono a pesar de las condiciones difíciles que estuvo pasando el gobierno en sus condiciones económicas y de caja fiscal. Y a pesar de eso pudo expandir 3 veces la cobertura de protección social, tanto con transferencias regulares como las emergentes, ¿no? La estrategia de inclusión económica ha permitido a un segmento de la población tradicionalmente excluido del mercado financiero acceder a estos servicios y utilizar los recursos de iniciativas productivas que les permitan mejorar sus ingresos, disminuir la dependencia de las transferencias monetarias y consecuentemente mejorar su calidad de vida, ¿no? Se requiere también tener evidencia de resultados de estrategias de inclusión económica, por lo cual se ha prediseñado una evaluación de impacto de las estrategias de inclusión económica dirigida a jóvenes y mujeres para su mejor inserción productiva y laboral, ¿no? Y finalmente, la inclusión productiva requiere un entorno económico habilitante que ofrezca las oportunidades suficientes y accesibles para los pobres, ¿no? Es decir, que la política pública propenda a generar oportunidades e igualdad de condiciones con acciones afirmativas para las personas menos favorables y que a través de ellos sus emprendimientos puedan ser sostenibles en el tiempo. Esto es un poco la experiencia del Ecuador y les agradezco su tiempo y espero haber respetado también el tiempo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Diego. This was incredibly insightful. I think you clearly illustrated an example of an approach that includes social assistance. It includes also social insurance. You talk about advanced payments for pensions and labor markets as well. So a very integrated approach to safety nets and livelihood promotion. We also heard earlier from Tanzania about an integrated package. And I started, you may recall on my slide, saying that investing in safety nets or investing in economic growth is often a false dichotomy. So I want to ask now, Jenny, Swatton, is it really a false dichotomy? Is it that easy, or what are some of the main challenges?
Thank you, Hugo. And massive thank you to our colleagues as well from Tanzania and Ecuador for the two really interesting presentations. So yeah, as Hugo mentioned at the beginning, my name's Jenny Swatton, and I work as a technical advisor for Concern Worldwide on social protection and economic inclusion. And for a number of years, we've been working very closely with government partners on economic inclusion programs, explicitly looking at how to complement existing safety net provision with other interventions which are designed to facilitate both self and waged employment. And so I've just got 5 minutes now, and I'd like to reflect, I think, on 4 aspects which I feel are relevant to this current discussion and to the point and question Hugo's just raised, based on our experience as well as those of others, are intended to protect people from shocks. And so whilst there is a huge potential to improve social and economic well-being by linking safety net participants to complementary interventions that are designed to improve their labour market engagement, I feel that there's a risk that we begin to focus too much on programme exit and reducing caseloads. And as you know, what we've seen really COVID-19 is just how critical access to social protection is. So rather is the message here that it's not about removing people from social protection altogether and other forms of social assistance, but actually facilitating access to more sustainable livelihoods. Then thinking around targeting, from our experience, often social safety net programs are narrowly targeted with low coverage of the working age poor, who I guess arguably are the main group we're looking to target with economic inclusion programs. This then creates challenges if we're looking to build packages or livelihood packages on top of this existing provision. So to be able to effectively do it, we would need to scale up existing provision and look specifically to target the working age poor. The second aspect I wanted to touch on then is around labour market analysis and market linkages. Again, what we tend to find is that programmes place a really strong emphasis on addressing supply-side constraints to labour market engagement, rightfully so, such as lack of skills or capital, with less engagement, though, on the demand-side constraints, so a lack of labour demand perhaps overall or seasonally. And additionally, with market actors, there tends to be sort of narrow-focused engagement, with less engagement with the private sector, for example, which can lead to a disconnect between programme activities. So I'd say, given the chronic situation of unemployment and underemployment globally, we'd say that market systems analysis is critical, not only for ensuring the feasibility of economic activities, but to identify those barriers to labour market engagement, including structural barriers.
Jenny?
And
Sorry.
ensuring then that the dominant is informed to decent. Yes?
We have sometimes you're breaking up a little bit, but don't worry. So if you want to spend an extra minute in your intervention, don't worry. So, but just
okay.
To let you know.
Apologies. I'll continue, but yeah, shout if there's a problem again. So just to say that the dominance then of informal employment in many countries often means that any employment created does not conform to decent work standards, which could have implications for sustainability. The third point I wanted to touch on then is around programme components. There's often a huge range of different complementary interventions being adopted in pursuit of economic inclusion, And we've heard about that from Tanzania and Ecuador, from the provision of inputs and technical and business skills training to activities designed to nurture softer skills, such as the provision of coaching and mentoring, with many programs actually providing a comprehensive package. And I'd say, I mean, our experience has highlighted the valuable contribution of the coaching component in particular, as well as the role of community-based savings groups as a bridging structure to more formal financial inclusion. Participants regularly report the importance that coaching has had in linking them to other services and on their self-efficacy, whilst the introduction of savings groups has led to improved social networking and community engagement. These outcomes then have subsequently had a knock-on effect on both perceived and actual ability to manage risk and cope with different shocks and stresses. And we found that most recently in Malawi after Cyclone Idai in 2019.
Jenny, you're breaking up again. I'm sorry.
Of COVID-19.
Jenny, I think we are we are losing you, and now you are completely frozen. Your screen is frozen. So I think we have some technical issues with connecting with Jenny, but I like to say that she was going through 4 points. I think she was able to cover 3 out of 4 so far. She made a very important point on concerns regarding focusing on exit instead of access to livelihoods. She made the second point on also recognizing the key role of the demand side of the labor market. She was, I see that.
Am I back?
That's fantastic. So you are on our third your third component. You were discussing savings and coaching and how relevant they are. So
yeah, apology. I'm so sorry. And I'll try not to take too long. But it was just touching on the point for anyone that was involved in the plenary session yesterday. Dean Carlin made a very important point about mental health. And whilst our experience or evidence is mostly anecdotal, there does appear to be a really strong causality between the coaching component and improved mental health and subsequently improved social and economic outcomes. However, coaching specifically is often seen as a constraint to both large-scale provision and replication of programs. And internally, it's something we're looking at in terms of different approaches to providing coaching, as well as using both individual and group coaching structures with the aim of finding a sort of a meaningful and sustainable solution in the context specifically where we're working. And then the final point, if we get there, I just wanted to touch on was around sustainability, which again, I think is where the other aspects converge. There are often concerns that the outcomes of economic inclusion programs are not sustainable after participants exit program support. And again, whilst the concerns are valid, I think the evidence which is emerging, it counters this, although they do seem to highlight 2 critical points. And that's the different trajectories that individuals and households take and the need to better understand those enabling and constraining factors. And then also the need to focus on what people are moving into and onto, that enabling environment, which leads back to something Diego sort of just finished on. And it also then touches on something else which has come up in the other sessions this week, which is the importance of coordination, particularly when we're linking social safety nets to other complementary interventions, given the multi-sectoral nature of these programs, as well as for the need, for institutional and legal structures and incentives then to ensure effective coordination. So yes, so apologies, that's me, but in summary, my take homes would be that when we're looking to advance earning opportunities through social safety nets, we need to be thinking about our objectives, who we're targeting, making sure we're targeting the working age poor, ensuring programs are informed by labour market analysis, and that our programs include activities to nurture individuals, such as coaching and improving social networks, and that we also consider what people are moving into and this enabling environment. Thank you, and thank you for bearing with me.
That's perfectly fine, Jenny. It was very clear. I think we made really 4 great points. I think we have a little less than 8 minutes left. There are a number of questions that are coming up in the the chat. Thank you, Hugo, also for summarizing them for us. What Jenny just conveyed. Let me capture a few of the questions coming up from the chat and direct them to our panelists. For Mr. Mwamanga, there was one question, I think, related to the role of communities and of households in supervision of activities. Maybe if you'd like to elaborate a little bit on the role that the communities play, perhaps in public works versus the CCT versus the other components, that could be one. And I like as you think through the response for Diego, there were a couple of questions. By the way, we were all impressed by the scale up from 38 to 68% of cash transfers during COVID. One question regarded eligibility. So what were some of the criteria for being included in the emergency assistance? And whether you could elaborate a little further on the financial education activities. So if you like to provide some thoughts on how it works or how it is working in that regard, that would be great. Mr. Mwamanga, let me turn it to you for the question on communities.
Thank you, Hugo, and thank you for that good questions. And it's about the role of communities and households in supervisions. This is a community-driven program where the community are empowered and involved in the whole process. Their full participation is important. Now, the role of communities at that level, one, we have the community management committee, which is charged to manage the whole process, and that committee is selected by the village assembly meeting. And basically, the role of the community, one is when they gather under the leadership of a village council or the village leadership, they need also to set up the criteria of poverty in that locality in a participatory way, and also select that committee, which will be in charge now to manage the process of the cash transfers in that village settings. But again, when you come to the other big role is they need also to participate in a transparent manner, because if anybody within the village is not eligible to the program, we have a lot of complaints, maybe, is them to say this is not an appropriate beneficiary to the program. So we have a very strong redressal mechanism in a transparent way where every community members, and that's why all the decisions are done in the assembly meeting where they hear up the grievances. So that's it. But we have a very strong community management committee in each village who are in charge to manage. And these are selected in the assembly meeting. Very important is they must be trustworthy, and also they have to know to read and write, because they are the one now managing the cash payment procedures and the other intervention within the community locality. So it's one of the aspects in the program also to empower, to build the capacity at that local level. And it has really changed the mindset of these people. Some are being employed in other areas because of the intervention they've been managing within the locality through TASAF. I'm not sure if I get clearly the answers.
Very clear. Thank you so much. Diego, over to you for elaborating on those 2 points on the eligibility for emergency assistance and financial education. And then we have almost 2 minutes left.
Estas preguntas quieren decir que ha habido se ha habido interés de parte de todos en la ponencia, y me alegra mucho. En tal caso, bueno, de los 3 temas, sí, estas son medidas que se han adoptado y se ha dado bastante atención y se han profundizado y se han ampliado en la época de la pandemia, de tal forma que obviamente estas medidas de transferencias monetarias se han ampliado no solo la regular, sino las emergentes, de tal forma que se ha podido ampliar la cobertura de beneficiarios, ¿no? Y de tal forma que hoy por hoy es la cobertura, la red de protección social más amplia en la historia del Ecuador. Entonces, sí, efectivamente, respecto a la cobertura, ha habido una mayor cobertura y una mayor aplicación en esta época de pandemia. Respecto a la elegibilidad, para seleccionar beneficiarios para transferencias monetarias, había un procedimiento a través del registro social, quien se encarga de hacer encuestas y determinar el nivel socioeconómico para determinar personas que están en extrema pobreza y en pobreza. Hay una franja también de personas que están en una condición de vulnerabilidad, que también atendemos para que no puedan caer en pobreza ni en extrema pobreza. Esa ha sido la condición de los bonos de emergencia, que son dirigidos a las personas que están en la franja muy cercana a la pobreza para que no permita caer a pobreza, ¿no? La elegibilidad para las personas que quieren acceder al crédito de desarrollo humano, tener estas iniciativas productivas, es precisamente ser parte de los beneficiarios de bonos y pensiones. Cualquier beneficiario que esté en el programa de bonos y pensiones de transferencias monetarias puede acceder a este programa, ¿no? Únicamente tiene que ir a capacitarse, ¿no? Y ahí viene otra pregunta, que es lo que nos decían, ¿cuál es la educación financiera? Se permite entender cómo funciona el dinero para las personas, ¿no? Cómo pueden utilizar de mejor forma, cómo pueden tomar decisiones económicas con el dinero que ellos tienen. Y parte de la educación financiera es ayudarles a que de pronto hagan este plan de negocios y puedan hacer estos emprendimientos para que sean exitosos, para que no sea solo una sola inversión y quedó ahí, sino que sea una inversión que sea sostenible, duradera y que le permita salir de esas condiciones de pobreza y de pronto pueda mejorar sus condiciones de vida, y en una próxima encuesta de un registro social puedan determinar que estas personas ya no necesitan los bonos y pensiones, sino que de pronto ya es un emprendedor y tiene un negocio o una actividad económica permanente que le ha hecho mejorar sus condiciones de vida. Espero haber atendido las 3 preguntas que había de parte de los asistentes. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Diego. That was absolutely perfect. And I would like to thank all our fantastic speakers today. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Ladislaus. Thank you, Diego. You really walked us through a fantastic set of lessons. Now, I think that we have the links that are provided for the next session, but we also want to hear from you. And you will see now 2 questions on the screen. Take a moment to let us know what you think of the session. This is anonymous and results will not be displayed. So the first question is, how would you rate this session? So just please choose from 1, that means poor, to 5, that is excellent. And question 2 is basically a statement. The statement, I will use materials and ideas from this session for my future work in this area. So you can choose whether you strongly agree with that, or strongly disagree, sorry, with that, and that's number 1. 2, strongly agree, that's number 5, and all the intermediate options. So please take a minute to take the evaluation. And it was a great pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you all for your engagement and participation. And I think that you have, yes, the link to the next session is there. Thank you so much. Or set of sessions, you just have to choose.